Guys, hello, friends, family. Welcome to Patriot Nightcap Sunday night. Enjoy a little nightcap. That was the beats, the Patriot beats from Pepe the Frog, aka Mike Redder out of New York, my favorite state sometimes. Guys, enjoy this show. We have some insider talk between musicians and artists. My favorite guys in our Patriot movement, East Coast, West Coast. We got Jacob Pofe, West Coast and Cali, hanging out, doing his best to survive. Joe Rosati out in Washington, Renaissance man. You'll know his song Freedom Now. I'm super excited for this show. Enjoy, and always remember, if music be the food of love, play on. Enjoy. So Mike, you were saying with your friend who, go ahead.
Yeah, so he basically put our band profile picture black, and a fight ensued, not on the band page, but on our personal pages, and just disagreement on views, if you will, and the other band that I was with also caught wind of basically the political argument that ensued. And Corey quit My Manic Mind. The other band reached out to me and said, hey, we don't want this kind of publicity on our page, and kind of overblown, just, we all know, just overblown everything. It's like, okay, whatever. Even went as far as to change the password on the band page so we couldn't log in.
Oh my
just,
goodness!
Just,
oh my goodness. So Joe, you have somebody withholding your music, band members changing passwords,
right?
And really, music is supposed to be the healer and the unifier.
Well, that's the thing. Well, for me anyway, and I know for Corey too. A lot of it I know is probably his wife. She's really liberal. I know he could come and set up his piano right now and we could play and not talk about politics and we would be fine. But it's just that, when I reach out to him, I don't think she would let him at this point, Black Lives Matter. But anyways,
yeah.
But yeah, as far as playing out and stuff, it's just as of right now a thing of the past, really, unless I go. There are townships that don't require it. The vaccine card, that is. Our way, like Syracuse. I'm pretty sure I could play down in Syracuse. At a couple of the venues down there, but that's an hour trip each way, and obviously without a band right now, we have 6-7 songs right now, but without we could do an album. Obviously Dave, my guitarist, he could do the bass line if he had to. We could do vocals and everything because we have our old vocalist, but as far as playing out live, we're just like a guy or two short. So it's basically just going to be sticking to the studio stuff. We'll probably get an album out, get our EP out. And just so you guys know, we haven't really told, a few people know, but we decided to name the band God No, Please No. So.
Oh, nice. God knows. God no, please no.
And one of the first ideas I had for a shirt was just a UPC code, just the, and then God no, please no, or even the vaccine at this point, God no, please no, So, but that the name was picked a while ago, so it's just kind of crazy how it's all worked out, but yeah. That's what it's like for me, music-wise here. Jake,
you have a really good setup there. I love your music studio though. Look how cool that is.
Yeah, this is just my drum set, really. I got my couple 18-inch woofers in here. I basically got I could totally, with what I have in here, do a small venue with 400 people. It's really loud. It's excessive. I have 2 huge PV subwoofers in here, and Yeah,
Fantastic.
just everything. You know, my guitarist, he keeps his stuff here. He's got his full cab over here, so which is again a little excessive.
Get Syracuse, bro. Bring him to the pad. Let's rock.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, so for a long time, you know, we were gonna either a like just find a venue to, you know, that like home base type thing, um, let them use our sound stuff. We play there for free, yada yada yada. Like, you know, or every other week or whatever, do a jam night, something.
Mhm.
But I really personally wanted to open my own venue.
Mhm.
Because again, you know, the closest thing is about an hour away, which is Syracuse. You know, and then bands usually go right up either into Canada or like Massachusetts, New Jersey, something like that. And it's like it's an easy stop. And there really just isn't a venue here. And I know like that Syracuse stop is kind of close for those bigger bands to like maybe, you know, book that close. But, you know, for a lot of those smaller mid-sized bands, there's really no opportunity here for them. So
Can't
that's
believe
always
it.
why. Yeah.
I think you're gonna have to just, start your own. Everything just has to
I
come
mean, yeah,
from
I mean, I do a
yourself
lot
now.
anyways
Yeah.
on the side. You know, I'm a contractor, so you know, I work all the time, and you know, to stop and buy a venue and try, you know, because then I would have to like hire a contracting crew, and the hard head of mine would be like, well, I can do the contracting, and then like I waste fucking, you know, 3 years remodeling it. But anyways, enough of me.
No, but it's I don't get the impression it's getting any easier or looser in New York. In fact, it sounds
No,
like it's getting worse.
actually,
Like when I
so
talk to my friends out there, I'm like, what?
yesterday they came out with, or 2 days ago, one of the Supreme Court judges overruled the mask mandate. So it was like, yay, nobody needs masks anymore. And it's in appeal already, and it's struck down. So it's back, you know, masks for at least probably 6 more months until it goes to the appeal court. So um, it's
This is
annoying. I
crazy.
mean, I don't abide, you know, like I'll go into the store and, sir, can you please put your mat, like, just like, you know, not like a friend, like I'll walk into Lowe's or Home Depot and not give a crap about what anyone says. I'm not gonna mask up there at all.
Of course you're
Um,
doing that.
but as far as like, you know, just going to like get my coffee in the morning, I always stop. Stewart's is
Yeah.
the
Stewards.
franchise up here, so I always stop at Stewart's and get my cup of coffee. And like
But
normally
sandwiches
all the
at
guys are
Stewart.
cool, but there'll be like that one guy. There'll be that one guy that's like, can you get your mask, sir? And I'm like, no, I don't pay attention to mandates. And he's just like, well, can you get it next time? And I'm like, you, you want to have a conversation over this? like, like, no, I'm not gonna bring it next time. So I
Wow.
don't know. Like, it's just I mean, it's like half and half though. Like, I really think about half of the people are just fed up. They're not doing it anymore, and then
Mhm.
the other half is a split between people who are still brainwashed and people who are just doing it because they feel obligated still.
Yeah. They're
So there's
just
that half that's like, no, we're not doing it. And then the other half is split. Half brainwashed, half, you know, we got to do it because, you know, they're telling us we need to mask up.
it's just a mindset. And I don't know. I think some people who are just brainwashed, I don't think they're ever gonna snap out of it, you guys. Jacob, what about you? What's been the hardest thing hanging out in
Oh
Tommy
man.
Cali, being a
Yeah,
beat?
California. It's earned that title more than ever, and it's so I can relate to Joe and Mike so much. Just what they've talked about. First off, I mean, the thing now, same thing here. It's still the mask mandate, but what I've been surprised by is I never wear my mask either. I go in everywhere, see the stupid sign everywhere, never wear my mask. No one ever says anything to me anymore. In fact,
No,
I
they don't.
think here, Mike, it's a lot more people are obligated, but they don't even really want to do it. And they're just doing it
Right.
because they have to, as employees. Because a lot of times, I'll go into Walgreens, Safeway, whatever, or just like a 7-Eleven or a little Quickie Mart, and they'll never say anything to me. They'll just talk to me normal. And if anything, I can tell the way they conversate with me. They're like, in admiration
Lucky.
almost, like, wow, this person is actually not,
Like, he's crazy.
exciting. Yeah, he's crazy and he's happy and he's just acting normal. And I just act totally normal, and I haven't had anyone even say anything to me anymore. And if they do, I just, same as you, I don't abide by illegal mandates. I prefer to go by this thing called the Constitution. I don't know. It worked out pretty well for me. So it's just, and it's funny, if you just know simple statements, you can really put people in their place. Just
Like
by
what? Give us an example.
Well, for one, let's talk about the science of masks. Another reason I like to wear masks, I don't like to breathe in my own bacteria. I like fresh air. I don't like to poison myself all day with bacteria. Which, by the way, if people don't know this, the whole reason cloth masks are worn is so bacteria doesn't get into patients when doctors operate. It has nothing to do with germs in the air. It's always been about bacteria prevention in your own bacteria. So there's just a little, fun fact. And when you say things like that to people, their mind's blown. And then I go, oh, it's funny. You're coming at me with all this mask mandate and you don't have any research on masks. You don't know anything yourself, but you're just abiding by it. Like, maybe if you did a little research before you confront other people, you would learn that, when you get punked by someone who has the research, maybe you shouldn't do it anymore. So I get aggressive with people, and I do it in a factual matter because they can't defend actual facts and science and real science, with like clinical studies, like peer-reviewed studies, how science was actually designed to be. So it's just putting people in their place. But as far as the musician goes, it's a little different for me because, I mean, in hip hop, you are a lot more, by yourself. But at the same time, Joe brought up a good point. People you admire in hip hop. I mean, I used to admire rappers like Eminem and Jay-Z. And if you look into Donald Marshall's story, I mean, it's like crap. I idolize, especially me being a white rapper, idolizing a white rapper when I was a kid, having no idea just how deep the rabbit hole goes. I mean, Jay-Z is arguably the best rapper of all time and probably the most corrupt, literally, as far as it goes, being involved with the cabal. Even if you look into his involvement with Beyonce and just how much they've been involved in deep state activity, it's scary. But it's, and there's all kinds of hip hop artists you can point out. Drake, Travis Scott just had that whole carnival thing that went mayhem based on demonic, sounding hip hop. So for me, I really want to be the next hip hop artist who can. I try and do two things now. I call it patriotic hip hop, which there's a lot of MAGA rappers coming out now. And I also try and really do spiritual hip hop, where I really focus on, like understanding your own power and your own consciousness, because that's where you can really understand your own truth and understand to defend your own spirituality, which is something that's been taken away from us. But really, Joe also brought up another great point. I'm really saving a lot of my music right now for when Trump drops his social platform, because I know I can do it freely. And I'm not going to waste time being censored and worried about it, on Instagram and Facebook. I just know that
that's fantastic, Jacob.
Yeah. So, and that just relates a lot to being here in California too. It has been hard. I've had a lot of friends that I used to do hip hop songs with that I just can't really work with anymore. Because, the more I speak out, the more a lot what Mike's talking about. You just go down this debate. And honestly, a lot of times I do the same thing. I start using factual evidence on the history of Black Lives Matter, and they can't defend it. And you really start
They're
the
just
history
like,
of a lot of
that's
the,
not real.
the heroes of Black Lives Matter, and you go into their rap sheet, it ends pretty quick.
Right.
And that's the thing. A lot of people
it
find
just
the
takes
propaganda without knowing the research.
It just takes a little bit of research, to dig into Clinton Foundation or who's really running BLM. It's just a little bit of research.
Follow the money.
Yeah,
follow the money.
Follow the money.
I always send people to either Nino or Janet Ottisman. Those are my two go-tos. Janet Ottisman only if they're ready, because that's like as red pilled as you can get. But Nino was honestly the first one where I heard about the crimes against humanity and the pedophilia stuff. I didn't understand how deep it went until Nino's video, and that's when I really started doing my research. Then I found Janet Ottisman. And if that doesn't red pill you, I don't know what will.
I don't know what will. He just interviewed Carol O'Brien. I think he just interviewed Carol O'Brien, and that should be a pretty interesting interview. So I'm hearing like frustration from all of you, from Washington to New York to California. In fact, wait, didn't Eminem just say like he's just so ashamed to be white? I feel like he just came out and said that, and that kind of.
I mean, he goes as far as he can to obviously just be aligned with the African American community. So it's like he goes overboard now with statements like that when we just like it's so simple if people just understand really all of our skin is all just made up by culture. Culture is created a black person and a white person. If you really sit back, we're all human beings that are interacting, and we've created all this shit with our language. That's all it is. I don't even think of it as like I'm black, you're white. I think of it as I'm a human being, you're a human being.
Right.
It's that simple, and we just get caught up in such propaganda. We can never get to that point again. So yeah,
they created races though. So I mean, really, it's the human race, you know. And then they're like, well, let's, you know, like I guess they changed that definition somewhere down the line too. You know,
yeah. Honestly, I look at it. It's all programming, so all you have to do is just deprogram, right? Or just create a new aspect of programming that's actually like legitimate for society. That makes it, you know, easier when we're not clinging to all these things that society tells us we are, because really we're not any of those things. We can be whatever the hell we want to be, no matter what.
Well, amen to that. I love that. I'm totally on board with that. Joe, can you tell our audience a little bit about Donald Marshall and the story, because that's always a good story, and I think some people may not know the story of Donald Marshall.
Well, I'll try and keep this short because it's quite a rabbit hole. So when I learned about Donald Marshall, there was a show, or there still is a show called Edge of Wonder. And I believe you can look up the Edge of Wonder on BitChute. So from my understanding, and I'm in touch with, now I'll give people a little bit of guidance here so they can learn a bit about Donald Marshall. So Donald Marshall, I believe, was born into a situation where his mom was unfortunately part of the deep state, and he was born. And what's really hard to wrap people to wrap their heads around, there is something called consciousness transfer. And so his consciousness transfer, what that means is they were able to, while he's sleeping, while he entered REM sleep, which brings up the band REM, this is part of this whole rabbit hole, that at age 5, they could transfer his consciousness into the deep underground military bases, the cloning centers, if you will. And they could take advantage, and they do this. And from what I've learned is when an artist sells their soul, what they're doing is they're selling it for the ability to have their consciousness transferred when they enter REM sleep. And then, and this is way out there, but anyway, this is why people have to, it's hard to keep it short, but they're able to then transfer their consciousness into a clone at usually, I guess, at night, and then abuse them. And then you think of Annie Lennox, Sweet Dreams Are Made of These. Some of them want to abuse you. Some of them want to get used by you. So Donald has been given a lot of clues. He's giving a lot of clues in his songs about what goes on there. The first song that he says, now he doesn't write the songs, okay? He doesn't pull out a pen and paper. He has there's a technology, and he basically thinks these songs. He creates them, and the technology somehow, now I haven't seen this, but basically it can record his thoughts and the melodies and all that, and then somehow it's transferred into a song.
I need one of those.
Well, yeah. Coming soon to Amazon. No, So the first song, so basically what happened was he was about to be abused somehow, and it's hard for me to talk about that because I don't know a lot about it. I've never been around it, thank God, but I don't even want to begin to try and I just feel bad for so many people that this has happened to. But the first song that he created was Kenny Rogers' song called Lady. And the way that the timeline adds up, Donald, I believe, I'd have to look, I think he was born in 1976. He was 5. Lady came out, I believe, in 80, 81, 82, around that time line. And so that was his creating that song. was they found that he was like the goose that laid the golden egg. He was able, because they asked him, because he was crying and making a lot of noise, and they're like, well, do you do it? Do you dance? Do you sing? Do you do anything? And he's like, I don't know. And then he came up with this song, and they were like, what the hell is that? And so it stemmed from there, and people have been trying to help him share his story for since 2013 was his first interview, I believe. It might have been earlier than that, but the first one I know of is 2013. And the way to find out about him, because I don't want to go too much, because you kind of got to learn about this yourself. There is DonaldMarshallRevolution.com. That's a website. That's not from him, but that's by the people that support him. But if you go to, on Instagram, if you go to a girl, her name's Josie Dutch, and you follow Josie Dutch, she has, right under her name, she has a link, and you hit the link, and it's the Donald Marshall Pro Boards, and you can hit that, you can see the history of Donald Marshall, and it's unbelievable what you'll find in there. It's all the links that you need, and I've been in touch, I won't say his name, but I've been in touch with someone personally that has experienced the consciousness transfer. Now, people ask, can we get some of these victims of the cloning centers of the human conscious transfer on the shows to get interviewed? They don't want to do it because they can actually be hurt or abused if they give current interviews. So that's why they won't. And I've actually reached out to one of them myself, but that's why you won't see some of these people going on the shows. So you'll find most of this information out through Josie Dutch's Instagram. So hopefully that helps people understand where to start looking.
It's wild.
And remember too, this goes a lot into like the other cloning theories out there too, as far as, we've heard all the different politicians getting cloned, Hollywood actors.
Yeah.
It expands into all that realm as well. It's fascinating. I'm
so glad that you're able to talk about this, because most people, I can't go have this conversation.
Right.
I mean, but the fact, you're pointing this, it's just like, that's why we have to talk about it, because it's mind blowing. It doesn't sound normal. It sounds out there. When we start learning everything's, look, most people are good people. We're good humans. We don't want to believe we've been lied to our entire lives, but you know what? We have, and we need to figure it out. We need to stand up, and we need to help each other through this, because a team is only as strong as their weakest link, and we need to help people out. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that are frustrated with the people that are just, realizing this stuff. And some of us have been looking into this for a couple of years. You know what? How about the guys that have been looking into this for 30 years?
Yeah.
You think they're frustrated? And how about being a kid that's been trafficked? You think we're frustrated? We have nothing. We have nothing that we have to worry about compared to what they've been through. We need to be patient, and we need to help each other. And that's
such
why.
A good point, Joe. And that's a huge part of the reason that I have this Patriot Nightcap show, because I like to get on here and expose some of this stuff, especially from the viewpoint of the musicians and the artists and the actresses, because it's our gut instinct to expose this and to hold a mirror up and say, okay, check this out. It might be really ugly, but don't deny it, because there's stuff out there that we need to look at in order to fix it or remedy it or heal it.
And to
grow. So do you think you do that, Joe, through your music? And Mike, what about you and Jacob last? Joe, are you healing people through your music or exposing?
I hope so. I think so. I mean, the way that I think what's hard is being a musician, that I put every ounce of my soul into my songs. But the thing is, I haven't had much of an audience my whole life, so I don't really know. I played with a lot of different people. I mean, my first album, people come up with certain things in their own lives, whether it's obstacles. My first album, I was ready to go in and record it. And the day before recording, the singer quit the band. And I'm sitting there like, well, now what do I do? Well, I had to learn how to sing. I had to write my own lyrics to the music that I wrote for the last few years. I'm up at Western Washington University, and I have the drummer and the bass player coming in And then the next day I got to figure out. So I went in and just kind of spoke the lyrics to what they were used to, and then had to figure that out. But I hope so. The way that I feel that people are relating to it is I read the comments in the Freedom Now video. It just cracked 19,000 views about an hour
I know.
ago.
Congratulations.
Nice.
So I mean that's all I have to go off. I don't know. I think there's a whole new opportunity for people, and
Well, that's, you know, as Laura Eisenhower would say, that's your truth frequency. And I had some traumatic events happen, and I said, okay, you know what? I'll figure it out. I have to turn this horrible thing into something good. So then I ended up like directing, producing, and then acting, and like the vagina monologues at the New Eurekan Poets Cafe in the East Village. Why not? I'm like, what else do I have to do? So like I did that, but it was therapeutic for me to get over a few people who had one who had just been murdered, another one who my sister had just died. And I'm like, all right. And then I gave money to a bunch of charities, but whatever. But you figure it out. You're like, okay, I can't just rely on somebody. So I'm going to figure this out myself.
yeah,
It turns into this therapeutic thing, right? Mike, what
yeah.
about you? It sounds like you're on the verge of doing that, or you're thinking about it. I see the wheels turning.
No, it's funny you mentioned that because, well, as far as, using your music or, are you speaking through your music?
Yeah.
Obviously being the drummer, I do write, but not nearly as much as say, a vocalist would. But we did kind of commit to, the three of us that are still working together, bringing this out, and not necessarily all the rabbit holes and everything, but our point of view, we want it,
You're not shy about your point of view. I work with you. I know this, and I love it.
And so one of the lyrics we just wrote is come bear witness to this antithesis, alter our initiative with a paradigm shift, rebirth under the eclipse, destroy your rhetoric. Decapitate the snake for every promise you couldn't keep. We will not concede when the pressure is too much to relieve. Eating at our minds, creating a great divide, bled within an inch of our lives, stuck between the fault line. We've definitely started using, lyrically because we're stuck in like this bubble, and it's really me, and it all kind of ties in. I know one of the questions you also had was, why are, what brought you to the Patriot Switch? And I guess this could all tie in with that is, we as musicians, we do have something to say, or portray, if you will, maybe not say, but we definitely have something to show or portray. And, this is all just giving us a sense of where we need to be focusing, our time and energy and what we want to portray. And, the Patriot Switch, a lot of us had no idea what it was, so
right.
we fill out the jot form and here we are.
Yeah.
And
now look at us.
But again, it goes back to full circle because like Joe said, and like we all have found out, we've gotten segregated from, the old friends or family or musicians or whoever we used to be with. And not only because, like when we first got on this call, because we're all the three musicians, we, just kind of hit it off and we were laughing and joking and stuff. But not only that, it was we're the Patriot team. So like, because the Patriot Switch is just a bunch of patriots, I don't have to worry about any of the people I talk to within the movement, even having a different view at all, so that was the reason that I was brought to it. I've told you before, I had that sense of like God tugging me on the shoulder. Hey, you need to be doing more. You're awake, aside from going out with my picket sign and, wake up, what do I do? What do I do? And so it was just one way to give back and meet a ton of like-minded people. And, and that's, again, I've always said once you start, you know, getting involved with the like-minded people, that's actually when the things start to happen. You know, it's not just oh, you're a member in the company. Oh, it's you're in with all these people now, especially with what Nino has done with it, with this whole Patriot community.
I agree.
No animosity with anyone. So it's, you know, and mix that, you know, with what we're talking about here in the music and portraying your beliefs through your music. We've definitely started doing that because of everything that's happened to us, basically.
I feel like 1776 has just become a home and a sanctuary for us, you know, to
It is like
get together and talk and unify. Jacob, what about you?
For me, it's funny because I've been writing music since I was a little kid. You know, about 9 or 10, I started freestyling. Right, I would just rap and freestyle before I even wrote, and then by 11 or 12, I was writing every day. So for me, it's like I constantly, one thing with hip hop I've always noticed, the biggest problem I've had with it is so many people are just trying to be someone else, or you know, it's all about flash and money and look what I have. So for me, I knew I wasn't into those things, so I always wanted to express what I truly believed in. So as my music, as I start recording the last 3 or 4 years, I really just want my fans and people to see in general the journey I've been on. And this last year or two, especially, you know, when I really got red pilled, it's like I look at it as like as I have to an obligation to use my talent to try and wake people up. And hip hop and writing music is what I believe is my biggest talent. So for me, my goal has been whatever I can do possible to wake people up and just to let people know and to use, you know, lyrics and different schemes just to let people understand. It's like Joe said, this shit is unbelievable. Like it's hard to even fathom some of these things that have been happening. So I feel like the best way I can is just use my talent to try and wake people up, along with just speaking out and understanding social media. But that's where the problem comes in, all the censoring and things that have been going on.
Right.
But really, this last new
Right.
my latest, you know, all my latest songs have all been about either spiritual awakening or like patriotic awakening, meaning like we have to understand what's going on. And Joe made another good point. What drives me every day is I have nothing to complain about because I think of these actual kids who have been, you know, enslaved in this system. And if,
Right.
looking back, I want there to be documented evidence. I did everything possible once I found out about this to put an end to it, because I don't want my grandchildren or people in the future to look at me like, how could you stand by and not do anything?
Amen.
And I
That's
just,
why it's important for us to speak out and not just sit on the sidelines, for God's sake. I mean, this is what we stand
yeah.
for over here is
And
freedom,
us being
freedom of
musicians,
choice, freedom of speech. I mean, you know, come on.
yeah. And us
Freedom
being
of
musicians,
children.
what better way
Yeah.
than express with our, you know, our actual God-given talent? And then that ties into a lot of like what Mike was talking about. It just that led me to, like I said, Nino, and then that led me to you, Tresha. We did a Zoom
I know,
together,
I
and I
love
was like, I'm all aboard. Hey, let's go. I was so, I mean, I told you, where do I sign? And you know, I've been so excited just
Thank God
because it
you
is a
did.
community
You know,
of like-minded people.
the three of you, I love you guys so much because you do, though. You embody like freedom. You have that gypsy soul, and nothing's going to contain you. Nothing's going to knock you down. But I think most importantly, like through your music and your lyrics, you know, if we can just heal and unify people more, you know, I mean, the world would be a better place, right? But we have to look into the face of what is truly ugly and the underbelly in order to do those things, in order to heal, you know?
Yeah. And I truly believe music speaks to people and can heal people almost more powerful than anything. And that's
Yep.
the beauty of it, right? We're all three different types of musicians, but we can all speak on these things in different ways, which and overall helps contribute to wake people up. And at the end of the day, that's the goal right now for me. Like that is the only goal, is to embrace the great awakening, to get people to wake up. And
Yeah.
that, and the only way you do is you have to start, you know, bringing these things to light. And that's why I also make sure I know as much research as possible. So I'm not just talking out my ass. I have things to back it up, because that's when you can really make people open their eyes, when you give them facts and say, look it up on your own. You know,
I
don't
know,
just
but you
believe
know what?
me.
I was
Look
thinking
it
about
up.
this before I got on with you guys. I was like, you know what? It's got to be harder for the people who think out of the box or just think, let's just be honest and do some research, but for people who are not, maybe not corporate or they don't just follow the rule, the rule followers, right? That's almost like easier for them because they're just following rules again. I'm just, like David says, I'm just doing my job, So it's like they just get back in line. Whereas for people like us, we're like, well, hang on a second. No. Wait a minute. No. And then it's like harder on us because we get the backlash, or, you're not falling in line,
Conspiracy theorists.
We're the black sheep.
Right.
Right. Yeah. No, and I think it was Joe or someone else brought this up too. Then it gets more frustrating because you're constantly seeing it and you want people to wake up and it's just not happening. And then it becomes more obvious and you still don't see people wake up like you're hoping. But it's also at the same time you can't get frustrated because at the end of the day, if we get mad and ostracize them, then that just prevents them from waking up.
Well, yeah,
And
no,
really,
that's what Laura Eisenhower was saying, and I actually agreed with her the other day. She's like, if we could just be a little less judgy, because when some of these people do wake up, it's going to be very painful.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't know if I brought this up, but it's weird for me because I come from a split family. So my mom is conservative Trump supporter. My dad is as liberal as it gets, and my stepmom, and I've been close to both them my whole life, and it's weird how our relationship has definitely changed the last couple of years, just because of, obviously I'm not vaccinated, and they have the vaccine and the booster, and just they're she still watches CNN, for crying out loud. Like, to think that people can do that, but it's like, I don't want to be angry and mad. I know how bad she's gonna feel because she's a good person, just has no idea, like, just the deception that goes on. And then people cling to these things because they feel right, so they're it's more like they're not willing to look at the evidence, and as it becomes more mounting, it just becomes harder for them. And I think that Mike talked about this. That's why there's that split now. There's half the people kind of obligated, and then there's those people still clinging to it. But it's still dropping because it's just so much madness going on. And it's getting to the point now, it's ridiculous. It really is.
It is ridiculous, especially
vaccines
when cities are burning down under Democratic leadership, And then I have those friends who are just like, wow. I mean, the ego is just, wow, it's off the chart. You can't talk to them. They're not going to they're not going to admit anything.
California is literally burning down. And I don't know if you guys saw Newscomb. He just is trying to pass a new thing for universal health care. Like, we're literally becoming Venezuela. We're like, we're literally almost the same country. It's getting crazy. And it's hard for me too, because a part of me is stubborn. Like, I'm not going to let them destroy the state I've been born in. I'm going to fight for it. The other half is like, get the hell out.
Somebody made a comment to me the other day with, oh, why didn't you stay in New York? You should have stayed and fought. And I'm thinking, like, yeah, maybe in my 20s and 30s, but you know what? I have a kid.
Yeah. You have
a little more important. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be sending her to a school with the face diaper on. She's got to breathe. I'm sorry. She's more important. So when we had the opportunity to jump to Arizona, I was like, let's go. I'm like, I had great years there. It bums me out with cancel culture and ripping statues down and whatever, but I'm like, no, she's more important.
Yeah.
Well, Tresha, look what you're doing. You can do anywhere, and what you're doing is amazing work. So it's not limited to where you were from. You're getting global. What you're doing is awesome. You're bringing people together. It really is a gift. So thank you for that.
Thank you. You're doing the same thing. We're all doing it together. You know what I mean? We jumped on here. We're talking about this from musicians' point of view. I was former actress, but I mean, I like to breathe. I like to talk. The air was always my friend, you guys.
Once you're an actress, aren't you kind of always an actress?
Yeah, that's right. I was going to say this.
Like,
I guess so.
What do you mean you used to be an actress?
Yeah, you're right. You're right, Mike.
That's like, I used to be a musician.
I know.
I guess there are like hobby, I don't know. I've thought about that too. Like, there's people that are like, oh, I'll just sell my drum set and never play.
No, because you know what it is. If I'm like, in my mind, if I'm not like in a show, if I'm not performing, then I don't feel like I'm an actress.
What's the last acting you did?
It would have been the Vagina Monologues, and that was like 2010. Yeah, it would have been that.
Wow.
Well, so sometimes don't you have to act like David doesn't piss you off or upset you?
Oh God, all the time.
All the time. I know. I tell him, I'm like, just think of me as your wingman. I'll be your wingman.
Oh, what a perfect metaphor.
Oh no, God, we have fun. We got to get him on the show. That would be like, be pretty hysterical, right?
You should just do one with him. A nightcap with Nino.
I tell him that. I know. I tell him that. We got to get him on. He will. He's my brother. He has to.
He'll come around.
Has to do what I say. I better shut up. He's gonna be like, just that.
Good luck with it.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
What if you would you give us a little expose of your drums? I'm like dying to hear you play because you're sitting in front of them. Can we have a little drum off right now, and then to close the show out, maybe some little Patriot drumming spirit.
You are fake news.
This is why I love you guys.
Wrong.
A little something, something.
I mean, I don't really have anything.
Or I can break out into monologue, but I don't think you guys want me to do that.
I don't
There you
know
go.
if it's. Let me know. I don't know what it's gonna sound like. So
That's all right. It's like an audio slave show. You're backwards.
But there you go.
Right on.
Dude, it actually sounded pretty good, man. I was expecting like there to be some scratchiness, but no, man, it was pretty clean. That was awesome.
That
It was
sounded
probably mostly
good,
this.
Mike.
It was probably mostly the vocal mic that's causing the scratchiness. But
There
'cause I
wasn't really
turned it
any. I
up.
was surprised. Because I've seen, rocking out. It's just chaos. That was awesome.
I love you guys. We're going to conclude our Patriot nightcap with my.
Yes.
We will win. Oh yeah, wait. Oh yeah.
Woo! Live from the apocalypse. All
Live
three
from the
states, too.
apocalypse.
That was all unplanned.
Apocalypse is going on.
Visions holding the line.
Yeah.
Peace out.
I just been a kid by the side of the road, watching the world. Well, it's all just a show. Those we looked up to are not who they seem. They flash their symbols in a horrible scheme. We've been lied to about so many things. The television seeps poison as the mockingbird sings. We just want our freedom. We just want our freedom. We just want our freedom now, now. We just want our freedom now. Scripts of the movies show part of the plots. Under the surface lies plenty of rot. Many actors play a devious role. Made a deal with the devil under mind control. The leaders are blackmailed. They sold us out. Eyes and souls as black as coal to gain their clout. We just want our freedom. We just want our freedom. We just want our freedom now, now. We just want our freedom now. We just want our freedom. We just want our freedom. We just want our freedom now. isn't even real. It's been rewritten as part of the deal. We've lived in a psyop, our DNA dumbed down. The world's been run by the cabal, the clowns. They want us divided and uninformed. Our morality gone as part of the norm. We just want freedom. Oh, we just want our freedom. Oh, we just want our freedom now, now. Oh, we just want our freedom now. Oh, we just want our freedom. Oh, we just want our freedom. Oh, we just want our freedom now, now. We just want our freedom now. So raise your minds and join the fight. Unveil the truth from darkness to light. Where we go one